On today's show, Kevin Durant makes his debut for the Suns. Do we have any doubts about the fit? And how good are the Celtics? And do the Cavs have any issues? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are Locked On to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On NBA your first listen. Each and every day we are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to watch every day, hang out with us, and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comments, should the Suns be title contenders? Should they be the title contender? I guess maybe confidence meter on them. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
Would you rather be Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving right now? What's going on out there?
Oh, in what way? In what form?
Basketball. Let's keep it on the court.
Am I just a dude walking around? Like, being 7 feet in this world, that would not be the best if I'm not making the money Kevin Durant's making. I'd rather be Kevin Durant. My coach is Monty Williams. I'm playing with better players. I'm in a better situation. Yeah. I'm sticking to that. Today's episode, we'll get into Kevin Durant's debut for the Phoenix Suns and talk about that. We'll talk about the Cavs versus Celtics game. Are the Celtics too good? What issues do the Cavs have right now? We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll play our favorite game every single week. Count it up, where we count up the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including, are the Knicks back? And is Austin Reeves really ready for all that smoke? We'll talk about that later on today's show. Let's start with Kevin Durant, though. Phoenix Suns go play the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe the best game, besides maybe the Spurs right now. Maybe the best game you could have for a debut on a team, because it no LaMelo for the Hornets, and this Hornets team is struggling. I'll just leave it at that for them, and we probably won't mention them the rest of the show. The Phoenix Suns, though, Kevin Durant gets the start, 10 of 15 from the field, 23 points. He goes 7 of 10 from mid-range. One of the mid-rangers he missed, though, was a Dennis Smith Jr. block, which was just an insane play from Dennis Smith Jr. But other than that, Kevin Durant is held under 27 minutes because of a minutes restriction. He's coming back from injury in this game. Phoenix got out to an 11-0 start. Charlotte came back and cut it to 1, and then in the second quarter, Phoenix just took over, did what they were going to do, blitzed them, and took a 20-point lead and basically held it the rest of the game. What did you see from Kevin Durant in his debut for the Suns?
We saw Kevin Durant. You know his name. He said it early. He said it early in his career. We know his name. This is actually a slight day for Kevin Durant. He probably wasn't even running 100% out there. He probably literally was just out there like, I'm here for a light jog. You know what I mean? The thing that I like most, right, is seeing him being able to still get down there and get the boards. Kevin Durant, the greatest thing about Kevin Durant, I talked about when the trade went down, is his ability to just be plugged into any situation and say, I'm going to do whatever you guys need, and I'm just going to add 30. I was more concerned, not at all with the scoring, but how willing he was to kind of get into a lot of the contact and different things like that. He had no problems with it. Got down there, grabbing rebounds, looking to get out on the run, attacking the paint. I love what I saw from Kevin Durant tonight, and I'm going to tell you this right now. The Phoenix Suns are about to go on a tear. This team is going to be a problem. I know this is the Charlotte Hornets, but just seeing with how this team moved off of each other, and the most exciting part about it, right, like the part that nobody talks about with Kevin Durant coming to this team, this is their third game in 14 days. They basically had like a mini training camp where Kevin Durant and Devin Booker just could work on stuff. You could tell that it was in play today. By the way, this was basically a preseason game as well for them. Just so he's got a new start to the system. I love what I'm seeing from KD, especially first night.
Yeah, and those guys not going to All-Star either. Like none of those guys were there. So they were all just hanging around, and we saw a lot of the KD workout stuff and felt like we were getting a new picture every day. I'm like, all right, he's working out again. He's practicing again. Yep. Yeah, I mean, this team's going to be really good. And there's some big questions, I think, overarching that I think we need to answer, but you see the guys just start fitting when you see it in front of you. You see the guys start fitting. Chris Paul setting the table, being a point guard, like being an old school point guard. He goes 1 of 8 from the field in this game, but it's not going to matter if Devin Booker can score 37 and do what he's going to do and just fill it up. If Ayton can give you 16 on shots around the rim, if Kevin Durant can give you a very easy 23 where he's just hitting all his mid-range shots, right? Like they're going to get the stuff that they need. Ayton is now able to just be like the rim protector, rebounder, 16 boards for him. I know he wants a bigger role than that. You're not going to get it with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on either side of you on the wings there. But it just seems like it fits. I'm worried about the role players, the starting with Okogie, the Torrey Craig spot, the campaign off the bench. They're missing Terrence Ross and Landry Shamet didn't play in this game, but I don't think those guys coming in are making me feel any better about the role players on this. But I came away with another question about the Suns besides the things that I thought about when I first heard this team come together. Are they going to take enough threes? Because we saw this last year. One of the big issues that the Suns team had is they just don't take enough threes. And that's one of the reasons why the Mavericks beat them in the playoffs is that the Mavs just killed them from 3. The Suns didn't take enough. The Mavs forced them to not take enough threes. And then the Mavericks took a ton of threes and made a bunch of them. And then that's how they won their games. That's why each game was so lopsided in that series. The Suns lose 10.5 3-pointers a game with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson gone. Those were like the guys that filled it up for them, taking a bunch of threes. Kevin Durant's coming in. That's going to help that for sure. But I don't know if they get there enough. They only took 25 in this game against the Hornets, but that's a question I have. And can you win in the NBA if you're just taking a ton of mid-range jumpers, even if you are 3 of maybe the best in the NBA, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant at doing that?
It's about having the ability to, and I think that's the biggest difference that the Suns come into this with. I'm not worried about them being able to shoot the 3 because I think what you saw last year in the Mavericks series was there weren't enough people on the team that were knocking down the 3 ball consistently. You're not going to have that.
They just weren't even taking them.
That goes into it, right? But the thing is, when you build your offense around guys that are just like, okay, we got our mid-range assassins, but who's our best 3-point shooter? Probably Chris Paul if he's hitting. And then we're talking about Devin Booker being next up, right? Like, that's not the situation that puts you in the best situation to go out there and get dubs. I think now I look at this team that coming into this season, right, or coming into the end of this season, adding on Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a mid-range assassin as well. He's one of the top guys, but the one thing we know is Kevin Durant can have a day where he just says, I'm going to shoot the 3 today, and he's going to be able to get it effortlessly. And again, that goes back to the point. He can be whatever you need him to be. I think that is going to be the piece that puts this Suns team over the top of what we saw last season, them falling short in a lot of those situations, because when things got tough on Devin Booker, things got tough on Chris Paul, they couldn't just go to DeAndre Ayton and say, we need you to step up and help us out here. Now DeAndre Ayton giving you a 16-16 game tonight, and you're sitting there just like, that contribution is exactly what we needed extra from what everybody else can do. And I think that's kind of what this season is going to become as we finish out here.
Other question I have about this team is, do they have enough perimeter defense? Like, what are you asking Kevin Durant to do? He got a couple of blocks tonight. It was nice seeing like a guy that's bigger in there that can help defend the rim, like with Ayton at the same time. That was pretty nice. But with the Okogie, Torrey Craig, what are you asking Booker to guard? Who are you asking Booker to guard? Who are you asking Chris Paul to guard? Like, the Hornets kind of got back in this game because of these quicker guards, and Kelly Oubre just being what Kelly Oubre does.
Was there a snapback on?
not on him personally. But that's another big question I have. I don't think we're going to get that answer just watching this one Hornets game. I want to see them against a couple of really good teams, or at least teams like on Sunday. We're going to see them against Luka and Kyrie. And I'm really interested to see what that turns into. Now, the Mavs aren't playing great basketball, so it may not be a good comparison, but I'm interested to see how they guard certain guys like that and who they decide to stick on who and how they make it work. And how many times does Chris Paul get switched onto a guy like Luka? And how many times does, can Kyrie get past KD or, whoever else is there? That's a big question. The other one I have is, can KD and CP3 last 4 rounds? I mean, Can they last 4 rounds? When's the last time we saw the two of them make it that far? Like the Mavs were really attacking Chris Paul a ton in that series, and I think that's replicable. But can KD last too?
I think to answer the first question, right? The biggest question that I would have to rebuttal that is, who's the team that's out there playing this dominant level of defense that they have to worry about in the West? Maybe you're talking about the Grizzlies. If the Grizzlies go on a long run, that's it. The Nuggets aren't a juggernaut defensively. The Kings are okay. You know what I mean?
It's not the defense that they're going to face. Like, it's going to be the offense that they'll face. The offense that the Suns will face. Will they work those guys down?
The point I'm making is that the real question is, can they outscore the rest of the teams in the Western Conference? Because that's literally all the West is at this point, right? Like, it's about being able to play situational defense, being able to get a stop at the end. I see them being able to come out ahead of that with the talent they have and the fact that they do have Chris Paul on the team, being able to find guys in the open position. Whether he's scoring or not, we know he can facilitate the basketball. And I think that that's the one really important thing that we have to keep in mind when it comes to this Western Conference. This team is going to be there when it's all said and done. And we're going to be talking about, okay, just how's the firepower going to finally be able to play out at the end in a Western Conference final series, right? Are you going to have more firepower than the Nuggets? Are you going to have more firepower than the Grizzlies? Kings, I don't really see being there. The Kings get there. Shout out to the Kings.
Wow.
Like the beam.
You squashed the beam. You hid
the beam. Yeah.
You hid your beam under a bushel is what you just...
Excuse me? I did what? Wait a minute. Oh. What did I do?
Hid your beam under a bushel.
Can we say that on Lockdown?
No, that's like a children's sign, like hide your light under a bushel.
Yeah, you're doing that? We going there?
It's a song we sang in church. Dang, did that have 2 meanings? Damn.
Oh, man.
This propaganda they were teaching us. Coming up, let's talk about Celtics versus Cavs. The Celtics get a win. The Cavs kind of fall apart in the third quarter. We'll talk about both sides of that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is the number one sportsbook in America, and it's the official partner of Locked On. So go check out what you have right here. Jokic, minus 340 for MVP. He's the favorite. Embiid, plus 700. You may want to get Embiid at plus 700 before they play the Mavericks on Thursday, because he rested against the Heat, and he's going to go out there against the Mavericks, and I promise you this. That man will score at least 50 points. At least 50 points the way the Mavs are playing right now. And his
going for a 71.
And he could be. He rested against the Heat on Wednesday, and so he's going for it. And it's a TNT game. He's going to be up for it. And those odds for MVP may go up. But anyway, go check out FanDuel. Go check out the No Sweat First Bet. FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, Pat, let's look at this other game. Could be the Eastern Conference Finals preview. Celtics versus Cavs. We'll see what happens with Milwaukee and Sixers, but Celtics definitely, everyone expects them to be there. This Celtics team played pretty even first half. Tatum had a 15-point second quarter. Donovan Mitchell had 15 points in the first half. In the third quarter, you start seeing the Celtics team pull away. And this is where I saw where the Celtics, I think, can be really special and are really special, is that they just start hitting a bunch of threes, and they're driving at Mobley and Allen at will and getting second chance points against them because their wings are big, their bigs are quick, and they're big at the same time. I'm talking about the Celtics. And you just start seeing what the Celtics team is capable of. 6 of 7 from 3. If they can get hot, all of a sudden you just dominate. They out-rebounded the Cavs 14-4 in that quarter, and they had 4 different guys hit threes. It's a really hard team to stop when they start getting everything rolling at the same time.
Oh, 100%. I think the biggest addition is the fact that Robert Williams is back. That makes such a big difference when you're talking about defensively, when you're talking about how this Celtics team rotates, when you're talking about just grabbing boards and being able to attack the boards. And the thing about the Celtics is they're really good. I'm talking about ridiculously good at 2 things. They're really good at rotating the ball to the open man, and they're really good at giving themselves as many opportunities to get the ball to the open man by getting the ball back 3 guys tonight in double-digit rebounds.
Yeah.
Tatum, Horford, and Williams all have 11 rebounds. Nobody else really even had to go rebound. They were just like, all the tall guys, please go grab the basketball for us. So I think that when you look at this Celtics team, right, you're coming with the chemistry, you're coming with their ability to implement a lot of the stuff that they had last season going into the NBA Finals and different things like that. Jason Tatum is playing at a completely different level right now, and he's just been on a tear. But now I think the biggest question with this Celtics team, I don't think there's much that can stop them. But this East is not small. This East is big man heavy. How healthy is Time Lord going to be? Because if he is not there, I will tell you, as a team that has watched many teams be able to beat the Celtics that shouldn't beat them just by having a big man. That makes such a big difference just by having a guy like Nikola Vucevic. If I have a Joel Embiid or an Evan Mobley, Jared, right, like it just makes everybody else's life a lot more difficult on that Celtics team. That's the only thing I think I see holding them back from making another finals run.
Well, it's a good thing they don't have to play anybody like Joel Embiid or Giannis or, you know
what I mean? Like, literally. And that's the biggest point. That's the point.
Anybody like that on the way there. But yeah, when you bring back Robert Williams, and we've seen it now for a while, you see that they can just throw different looks at you. They played 2 bigs in this game a bunch because that you're going against Mobley and Allen, and in that way you out rebound them, and then all of a sudden Jason Tatum is moving down to the 3, or Jaylen Brown's moving down to 3, whichever one you consider, and then all of a sudden like you're totally outsized on the other end because it's a Okoro or Garland or Mitchell, and you're like, okay, Jason Tatum and Brown are going to out rebound either of those guys and outwork and outmuscle either of those guys on the other end. And you just have so many different looks. Brogdon coming off the bench, incredible playmaker. He doesn't need to go off for you, but he can. Derek White can go off. We've seen him have like 30-point games this season.
Yeah.
Grant Williams didn't even play, but that's their playoff rotation, and it just can give you so many different looks that this team is so good. And yeah, like you said, they're going to have to face the Embiids. They're going to have to face the Giannis's probably. Hopefully they can avoid a couple of those. Like maybe they don't have to face both of those on the way there. If they got to get the 1 seed back, but
even if you're right, like even if you're playing the bottom of the East, right, a lot of these teams in the Eastern Conference have made the decision to go back to using a bigger man in the center position. I don't think it changes, right? Like a lot hinges on this finals run on the health of Robert Williams and the durability of Al Horford. Al Horford's been very durable this season. I'm not saying that he's an issue, right? But Al Horford's still a guy that's getting older. He played an amazing game tonight.
6 of 8 from 3.
I mean, listen, every now and then Al Horford has that game where you're just like, what is that?
No,
what are you?
You're like, remember that one time he played for the Thunder and they just told him to go home, and then he came back and was like one of the most important big men in the entire NBA going on a finals run for the Celtics?
No, but the thing I always think about is that like the first half of Al Horford's career, he took 2 3-pointers and he was 0 for 2. And now he's like knocking down 6 of 8 in a game. Like I love the fact that he was just able to transition into the newer NBA like that. Man.
Him and Brooke Lopez like went to.
It's the best. They're the best
to some kind of camp. By the way, Al Horford, you're cutting him short here. First, how many years of his career?
First 10. First 10, probably?
No.
10, 11.
First, let's give him first 7. He was 10 of 29 from 3 in 420 games.
Hey. 29 threes in 10 years.
So it's not a lot. He didn't take a time. And now all of a sudden he's making just as many of that as in one game.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He literally got 6 in this one.
Let's focus on the Cavs for a minute because I'm interested in this team, and this team I think is going to go as far as Mobley can take them because there's an issue with spacing. It's just all Donovan Mitchell making tough shots, Darius Garland making plays happen and like hitting some shots, but it's a ton of Donovan Mitchell tough shots, and they really have a spacing problem with Allen, not a shooter. Evan Mobley has tried to add a 3. It just hasn't come up this year. Been good around the basket. He's had some games, but just can't hit the 3. And Okoro is not like the floor spacing 3 either. They poked around with trading for Tim Hardaway Jr. to try and add somebody like that. But Karis LeVert has kind of been relegated to a bench role now, and they just don't have that extra guy that can space the floor like that. And so you saw in this game, I thought their spacing issue because the Celtics were all just packed around the paint, and now it's just a shot making competition. And Donovan Mitchell, had that groin situation in the middle of the third quarter, and he fought through it, and 44 points in this game, like shot amazing. And he's been so good that they've been able to win a bunch of games this year. But I think that's their one big flaw that they're dealing with this year so far.
Yeah, but I've asked many Cavs team fans, especially when the Bulls were playing the Cavs during the live streams and stuff like that, like, do you like the fact that Evan Mobley's essentially taking a step back? This is the team that you asked for. This is the team that you wanted. Donovan Mitchell's not a guy that really gets the big man heavily involved in the game. He's going to have the ball in his hand. Evan Mobley was had an amazing rookie season. But this season, you bring him in and you're telling him, hey, just go out there and make sure that you're grabbing boards and offensively just be a guy. 6 for 15 from the field. He didn't have this horrific day offensively for the Cavaliers, but I think this is the team you're going to have no matter what with Devin Mobley. It's going to take him a while to add that 3-ball in probably, unless he all of a sudden just has this jump up in 3-point percentage that puts him in a completely different situation. But you don't have a lot of space on this team. Your space is at your guard positions. Isaac Okoro was supposed to be this 3-and-D player. He's an amazing defender. I mean, he really plays really good defense. Tonight, maybe not your best example of it, but most nights, right? I really like Isaac Okoro's defensive intensity. The 3-ball hasn't developed. Jared Allen doesn't really have a shot. You know what I mean? So
they don't ask him to either.
To me, this is the team that you knew you were going to get. I'm not surprised by what we're seeing. I don't know. The question that I'll pose to the comment section and stuff like that is this the best team or the best fitting team for what the Eastern Conference has become? You still can defend really well. You can get out. You do have length at the wing position, and the Eastern Conference very big man oriented.
I'll give this Cavs team credit though. They cut it to 5 with like 30 seconds left, and they worked back into some of these games. I think it was a Sixers game, or it was Cavs or somebody recently where they were down big, and then they fought all the way back. Like, this team does fight back, and they don't give up on some of these games. So you got to give credit to JB Bickerstaff and the culture that they've built there and all that. They've got these flaws, but at least this team is fighting through it and working through it. Young team. Like, they have years ahead of them to try and figure these things out and to try and add something to that. But at least for this year, they've got that flaw, and it's not going away. But what's not going away for us?
Count it up.
Coming up, let's talk about the Knicks. Are they back? Is Austin Reeves really ready for all that smoke? We'll talk about that and Count It Up coming up. All right, Pat, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA and making us your first listen. Go check out Locked On Bulls or Locked On Mavs as your second listen. Locked On NBA Game to Game as well, covering everything in the NBA from local experts on the Locked On NBA feed, wherever you're listening to this or watching this. But now it's time for our favorite game every week.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
Where we count up the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, starting with the New York Knicks get a win against the Nets. It's not a rivalry anymore, right? Like, that's done. Is it done?
It never was a rivalry.
It's done. It's done. It was a rivalry for their fans, for sure. Because anytime I caught anything Knicks, whether it was Locked On Knicks or otherwise, they were talking about the Nets fans and like, ugh. Like just frustrated with them. How dare they come at us? We've been here. New Jersey. And then tonight, the Knicks get a huge win in terms of the amount of points that they won by. Jalen Brunson, 30 points at the half, scored 39 total. He has taken this huge step up. Knicks have matched their win total from last year. Their 7th straight win. They're on a win streak right now. So, Pat,
count it up.
How much are the Knicks back right now?
They will be in the playoffs.
That's back. That's back, right?
Okay.
You're not excited. You're not excited about the Knicks.
Well, I think the thing with the Knicks is, right, like we're not really seeing. We're seeing Jalen Brunson be really, really good. And I'm really excited that we're seeing Jalen Brunson be really, really good. And that is having an effect on what we're seeing from the surrounding cast. But the Knicks are still a conundrum of questions.
Sure.
Like
no one's waiting for him to go win the title, but at least they're a good team again.
I mean, the question that I have is like, who are the cornerstone pieces that we're 110% sure sticking around? We've had questions on RJ Barrett being a part of this team long term, right? We know they re-signed him, but is RJ Barrett the answer that they're looking for? Julius Randle, 1 year or one half of a season, he's the favorite Knick of all time, and then the other half they hate this guy, right? Like, so I think the thing is, and not it's not lost on me that, right, that's the fandom that happens in New York. When you give your all, when you're playing well, they'll love you, and when you're not playing well, they'll let you know about it. I love that. We're the same way here in Chicago. We will absolutely let you know about it. But the thing that I'm trying to figure out with this Knicks team is I think Jalen Brunson's a cornerstone piece. Who are the pieces that are going to be around him long term on that team?
Yeah, the RJ Barrett one is interesting because they committed all this money to him long term and all that, and I just don't know what they're like. What the plan is with him. How are they using him? How can you get him? How do you get him involved? Jalen Brunson, for as good as he's been this year, he's turned himself into a really great scorer. Not the guy that's getting everybody involved necessarily. He's not the Chris Paul set it up type point guard. He's the go get a bucket and can get it in a bunch of different really good ways. And you saw that tonight. Incredibly efficient. 83% from the field, and 83% from three as well for 39 points. Incredibly efficient game. But he's not a guy to set up everybody to figure out who needs the ball when and in here and what. He's helped them as a leader, and Jalen Brunson has done something I didn't think anybody could do. He's made Knicks fans maybe, and at least the players, like, they're fine with Tibbs now. Like, are we fine? Like, nobody's calling. When's the last time somebody called for Tibbs' head that wasn't like a hardcore Knicks fan?
And here's the thing. Again, another question: is Thibs going to be there long term?
I don't know. What I mean? I don't think so.
That's
Knicks
really
fans
the
have
question.
called for his head like so many times since he's taken back over.
And I think the thing is too, right? Like, the one thing that I will say that has changed a little bit, right, is Thibs is finally. It seems to me like Thibs is finally getting to just say, "Hey, just because you like told me this guy should play doesn't mean he'll be on the court." Like, I'm trying to put the best. This is the first time where I'll say Thibs is putting dudes out there that actually are trying defensively, play in and play out. So I give Knicks higher brass credit for finally kind of letting him do what he wants to do, but also, right, like, how far is that going to take you? How high is the ceiling on that? And when is Thibs going to just get sick of somebody that's on the team? You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it comes down to.
Shout out to the addition, Josh Hart, plus 30 off the bench in this game. Only 4 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. He's like he's a connective tissue that they needed, like that extra guy. Like, how far away are we from Josh Hart starting over RJ Barrett? Am I out of control on that one?
I'll say this. I've never seen Jalen Brunson be as excited about RJ Barrett as he is about Josh Hart. I mean, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of hearts going the Hart way. You know what I mean?
Or Luka or whoever else or anyone else he's played with in his career.
Yeah. I mean, and Josh Hart's his guy, you know, and sometimes it makes you play better. But the thing is, right, Jalen Brunson feels like he can trust that guy. Feels like he knows he can let that guy go out there and do his role. I think that's really kind of what the love comes down to. And I don't know if he has that, not to say that he hasn't seen that from RJ Barrett, but I just don't know if he has that trust for the organization as a whole, like that these guys are going to be there.
Let's move on to in the Mavs loss to the Lakers on Sunday. There was a moment where Josh Green was picking up Austin Reeves full court. He was guarding him. He was fronting him, staying in front of him, pressuring him as he was bringing the ball back. Austin Reeves lost the ball out of bounds and bounced off of Josh Green. Josh Green said something to Austin Reeves, and Austin Reeves got all up in his face and said, "You ain't S. I'll F you up." He said all the words, not the letters. On a scale of 0 to 10,
Count it up.
how much do you believe Austin Reeves?
What's the height on Austin Reeves there? What's the height on Austin Reeves?
He's bigger than you think. He's probably like, I wouldn't say he's
6'4", 6'5"?
I wouldn't say sneakily athletic, but he is a little bit bigger than you think. He's 6'5", and so is Josh Green. They're looking eye to eye.
Every white guy is sneaky athletic. What's up with that, Doc?
Personally, I am not, but that's okay.
There's nothing sneaky about it. But no. I would almost say, I don't know, dog. I don't know. Austin Reeves seems like one of those dudes, right? Like, like he wrestled hogs growing up or something. Like I know
Hillbilly Kobe is up for it.
He's got that look. You know what I mean? Like I know he didn't, but he's just got that look. Like when he looked at him, he was like, "I'll F you up." I was like, I don't know, bro. Like he might have bailed hay at some point.
He looks like one of the. Did you have to read that book, The Outsiders, in school and watch that movie that didn't have like Rob Lowe and like a bunch of dudes? He looks like one of those guys.
We went to very different schools, Nick. I missed that one. I was more at the schools where people were taking SATs for Derrick Rose. You know what I mean? Like, I was around those schools.
Never had to read The Outsiders, I guess. Yeah, 0. Austin Reeves not ready. Josh Green would mess him up too. I wouldn't mess with Josh Green.
Yeah. I don't know. Austin Reeves might be sneaky tough. I don't know. Sneaky tough. It didn't feel like a Kirk Heinrich on Rondo. I will say that. It didn't feel like one of those. Classic fight.
According to Kirk Goldsberry, in Damian Lillard's 71-point performance against the Houston Rockets, Lillard became the first player to make at least 400 feet worth of shots in a single game. He made 420 feet worth of shots.
Count it up.
I just found that interesting. I have no counted up to add to this.
I got to count it up for you.
Count it up.
Who's counting this stuff?
The answer is Kirk Goldsberry, apparently.
Like who's
420 feet worth of shots.
Who's the guy?
Okay, wait, I got it. I got one.
Let's go.
All right.
Count it up.
How impressive is that to you on a scale of I don't care to, oh, that's cool, or
I don't know. It's definitely cool, right? It's
the amount of feet that he shot from his shots?
I'll say, excuse me. I'll say this. It's one of the most amazing shooting displays we've probably seen in NBA history.
Man,
like honestly, like like what he did was amazing. Him being able to go from 71, but the fact that like at points in the game, like it was like, hey Dame, the All-Star game's over, bro. Like you don't have to pull from there. Oh, you're just gonna do it. Okay, you got it. Like it was an incredibly impressive feat. I was excited to see it happen. I was excited to see how he came out and played. I thought that first off, he dunked on somebody. Does that count? Does feet up count? Because he absolutely gave us one of those Dame Lillard, like, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna just come through and dunk on you, slam dunks. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But yeah, who's counting this? That's my question.
Speaking of Damian Lillard, ESPN had this story with Baxter Holmes, this great story about Damian Lillard with this brand new topic we haven't heard of, like Damian Lillard on why he's still in Portland. And how many times do we have to do this story? Why is Damian Lillard still in Portland? That's my counted up. Is how many times do we have to do this again? You know, the loyalty. Like, are you ever going to think about leaving? Like,
no,
I'm out on any of those stories.
I'm done with the stories because Dame hasn't changed his answer. And to the point, he's actually said, listen, if they ever get rid of me, they get rid of me. But if they don't, I'll be there forever. And the thing, my favorite line, I don't even know what pod it was on. I wish I knew so I could give him credit. But he literally was just like, y'all better pray I never win a championship in Portland. You better pray. You'll never hear the end of me. So I'm done with the stories too, because it seems like, right, like very, very much not like Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It seems like these two are like, I feel like we should break up for what's better for both of us, but we just love each other way too much.
Yeah, there's no ayahuasca with Damian Lillard, I don't think.
There's a lot. There's no darkness on Damian Lillard. You know what I mean? He's not going into the darkness here.
He's not hosting Jeopardy anytime soon either. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. Go check out Locked On Mavs, Locked On Bulls, any of the Locked On NBA shows. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom!